You're listening to Inside Lebo, a podcast giving you an inside look at Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office.
Hello and welcome to Inside Lebo. I'm your host, Assistant Municipal Manager and Municipal Planner Ian McMeans.
And I'm Assistant Public Information Officer and Senior and Online Editor Rachel Windsor.
So today we're here to talk about a new program through the Mount Lebanon Police Department, the addition of our Social Services Coordinator.
And our guests with us are Daniel Cuiffi, Deputy Chief of Support Services, and Social Services Coordinator Jaqui Stilson. So thank you for both joining us today.
Good afternoon.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't we just start off by either one of you, whoever wants to start, just telling us a little bit what the duties of a Social Services Coordinator is.
Okay, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down because a social services coordinator does so many things. The role encompasses a lot of things. It's the overall welfare of the community, really. It's taking care of the heart and soul, really, if you think about it. But the nuts and bolts of it is that my job is to figure out what the people of Mount Lebanon need and get them to what they need in a timely way and get them coordinated and handed off in a warm way that doesn't leave them feeling like the system is sort of just connecting dots and just checking boxes, and to try to put a personal touch to it.
That's great. So Deputy Chief Cuiffi, can you talk a little bit about kind of the history for why we decided to add this position to the police department? What was the identified need that we're filling with this program?
I think we were just putting too many collateral duties on our officers. With policing today and the way society is, police are asked to do a lot more than they used to be asked to do. So therefore, we thought we were not servicing the community enough in this area. So we decided that the trend across the country is adding social work to police work, pairing them together in some way. And I think the model that we've put together is the best for this community. So we saw a need for our officers to have a resource, for the community to have a resource, for somebody to be able to intervene, as we could say, upstream rather than before they get into the criminal justice system. So we're trying to keep people out of the system, and I think that this will be a great tool to do that.
So can you talk a little bit more about the value that Jaqui brings to the department as a whole?
Sure. Jaqui being integrated with the officers in the department is going to allow her to see any behavioral changes or any mood changes or any changes that an officer might put forward when they're involved in a critical incident. And it's important to recognize those because we do rely on each other to kind of provide some sort of counseling and relief after those incidences. But her being a social services professional, she can see that, and by interacting with them every day, she can address it with them and see if there's a need for them to find other services or anything like that. You know, and I don't want to give. I don't want it to seem like we don't have trust in the officers that we have to handle mental health crises, but they're not social service workers, and they don't know all of the nuances that go into the programs that social services can provide people who are in crises. So this is just another tool in their toolbox to use to better serve the community.
Yeah, that's great. Having someone who's a mental health professional on staff is going to have tremendous benefit for all of us.
Exactly.
And so you said that this is a little bit of a new strategy for Mount Lebanon, that you've been looking at other areas or tailoring the program off of that. Can you talk a little bit about the strategy behind it?
Sure. This is a resource delivery model, as opposed to some communities, which I'm not saying that they're wrong. I just think that this is the best way to deliver services to the community in Mount Lebanon. So rather than us having social workers or social work type employees ride around with the police, answer calls with them, go into critical incidents with them, we see this as a resource prior and post incident. So we're trying to get it on both ends rather than as it's happening. But Jaqui can also talk about some of the things she does in incident. I think just last night, She assisted the Shaycog CERT team. She's part of their, and I'll let you explain what you do.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, I do wear multiple hats. Part of how I ended up here in Mount Lebanon is because I do serve on the Shaycog CERT team. I'm a certified crisis negotiator, and I did provide support to the negotiation team last night on a critical incident that happened in a nearby neighborhood. My role is that I provided coaching to the primary negotiator, just with kind of little mental health tips. And kind of when you step back, it seemed a lot like a TV show, because I figured out a couple of things just from what the person was saying, and was giving him tips on how to talk to the person and giving the negotiator suggestions on how to talk and how to interact and things like that. And just also making sure that the temperature amongst the negotiators was staying low, because it was a pretty drawn out affair, and people were getting frustrated just because anybody would, when anything you do in your job takes 4 hours. So that was part of what I did. The other thing is, as far as my actual duties, I do a lot of things. Just in the past month since I've started, I've helped with death notifications. I've helped families process their grief. I've been helping people get connected to mental health services, and I've gotten some referrals for families with teenagers in need. So it kind of spans everything, really.
And just for those who might be listening, the Shaycog CERT team is the South Hills Critical Incident Response Team that serves the whole South Hills area, covering, made up of folks from multiple communities when there are big responses that are necessary.
So, previously as an investigator, I always like to have somebody there when I interview somebody, because a lot of times when they're talking to me, I won't pick up certain nuances they say or certain body language that they express. So her role is vitally important with Shaycog CERT, as she can pick up on the little things, behavioral patterns of somebody, some statements that they might make that the person negotiating with them may not pick up, and she can enlighten them on those, which is very important, because we certainly don't want to react to what somebody says if that's not a real trigger that we need to react to. If it's just just part of their, I don't want to say diagnosis, but part of their crises as we're dealing with them.
I also like to think I provide a different perspective, because I don't come to this from law enforcement. I come to this from 8 years of crisis work for Allegheny County Crisis, and from service coordination, from case management. Like, I've spent a lot of time working with the public just in a very different way, and I'm used to interacting with people in a different way than law enforcement does. It's just different, and it's another set of eyes. Not better or worse or anything, just different.
Great. So can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned it kind of in passing, but how Mount Lebanon's program is different than some of the programs in our surrounding areas?
Sure, because like I had touched on, some are a co-responder model, and what that entails is the social worker driving either with an officer or responding in conjunction with. We think that it's the most, our officers are highly qualified. However, they don't possess the knowledge that, not all of the knowledge that they need to address certain issues that people are going through, certain crises that they're going through. And I think that this resource delivery model, it gives us the ability to actually follow up on incidences and crises that people go through without pulling from the services or the time of the police department, where they're out answering calls and doing other traffic enforcement and things like that.
Great. So we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back with more with Deputy Chief Dan Cuiffi and Social Services Coordinator Jaqui Stilson. And we're back with more on our new social services coordinator position. So in the first half of the show, we heard from Deputy Chief Cuiffi and our new social services coordinator, Jaqui Stilson, on sort of the impetus for the program and why it was created and what the program is going to offer. So, Jaqui, you've talked a little bit about your background from before you came to work here in Mount Lebanon just a month ago. So, can you tell us a little more about what you've done before coming to work here?
Sure. So the last job that I had before I came here, I was at Resolve Crisis Services, so the Allegheny County Mental Health Crisis. I was there for about 7.5, getting close to 8 years. Before that, I was a therapist at a hospital diversion program. Did service coordination with various different populations, the homeless, severe and persistent mental illnesses. Worked with homeless veterans. I've spent a little bit of time in community corrections. So I've kind of been around and done a little bit of everything. So I've dabbled in a lot of things.
Wow, that's quite the background.
Yeah, it's exciting. Tell us what the interview process was like for the position, since I imagine it's, a unique position. They were probably looking for very specific skill set. What was that like from your end?
It was not like a civilian job interview. That was one thing, definitely. So it was very much looking to hear my ideas. It was very idea driven and about things that I wanted to bring to Mount Lebanon and how I viewed social work and what my role would be in the department and how I would interact with the officers and the community and all of that at large, really. But honestly, it was pretty quick. I had one interview and then I got the call and said, "Hey, you're it." And then I got to do the police background check, and now here I am.
So one of the things we did stress in the interview was the need for a community-wide position, and I think Jaqui understands that she's just, although she's based in the police department, she's just not a police employee. She's a municipal employee who's going to address some concerns of other departments in the municipality, such as fire, code, and any other.
And I did want to jump in and add that we did go live with the public email that the general public can email me with their concerns. Like if you're concerned about a neighbor, a loved one, then you can email me and I can try to make it happen and try to figure out what I can do. Obviously, I can't make somebody accept my services, but I will sure try. I'll call them a couple of times. I'll knock on the door if I need to. So I'll try and figure it out and do what I can.
Can you share that email address? We'll also put it in the show notes for those who are reading.
Sure. It is ssc@mountlebanon.org, mtlebanon.org.
Great, thank you.
Great. So, how has, I know you've only been here like a month, but how has the program been received so far by those in the community?
So far, the officers have been fantastic. There's a lot of them, so I'm still kind of getting to know everybody, but it's been great. People have asked me for my input on things. I've been getting referrals. They're starting, now that people know that I'm here, it's starting to turn into a snowball, which is good. That's what I want. I want work. And as far as the community, it seems like people are really receptive. I did read the Facebook comments when my posting went live, and that was very encouraging to see that people were excited to see me. It's not something you see a lot in social work. People aren't usually excited to see a social worker, so it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, when consulting with a lot of the other neighborhoods and municipalities that have this service, one of the biggest hurdles that they found was acceptance by the employees that she'll be working side by side with. And I can tell you, to the credit of our officers, we had zero issues with that. They accepted her and were open to this idea. And we're going to move forward with it, and they're going to move forward with us. So I think that's a great testament to the officers that we have in this department.
That's great. And you mentioned that the email address is live. Is there a page on the police website or anything like that also with more information? Coming soon?
There is. The social service coordination page is live, and it does have a couple of handy emergency resources that I gave to the PIO to put up there. But that's living and breathing, so if there's something I forgot to mention, I'm happy to figure it out and put something up there.
And so tell us about how many behavioral or mental health calls are normally received by dispatch on average. What does that look like for the community?
Well, that's sort of hard to quantify by just the mental health category. only because we received numerous calls with regards to welfare checks and overdoses, suspicious persons, disturbances, and calls of that sort, which a lot of times are mental health crises that people are going through. They're just categorized differently by the dispatch. So we would have to go through each and every report and pull out the content of that report to see what kind of incident that was. However, mental health calls over the last 2 years are at, just mental health calls specifically, are at about 570. So this resource that we've put into place is really going to hopefully bring that down, and she'll be able to quantify that through her reporting system and everything else that we have in place.
Great.
That's great. Well, welcome aboard, Jackie. We're very happy to have you as part of the team here at Mount Lebanon, and I think it's going to be a great resource for folks in the community. So for those that would like more information, Jackie also gave a short presentation at the commission discussion session a few weeks ago, so you can go back and watch that on the Mount Lebanon YouTube page, as well as the social services page on the police department website, as well as emailing ssc@mountlebanon.org if you have any questions or would like to request assistance of any kind. So thank you all for joining us today. Looking forward to seeing where this program goes in the future.
And that's going to be it for this edition of Inside Lebo, produced by Carrie Monod, with music by Drew Monod and graphics by Chris Leeper.
We'll be back soon with another episode of Inside Lebo. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Inside Lebo, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office. Learn more about all things Lebo at mountlebanon.org or by following our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages.